We now have confirmation that we're definitely getting under the skin of old Joe's spokesperson, Jen Circleback Psaki, by mocking her for always telling reporters that she'll have to circle back to them because she doesn't know the answer to any of their questions. Because she's almost as big of an embarrassment as old Joe and she's supposed to be a professional spokesperson, her team did her homework for her and then she finally did circle back.
And last thing I just want to do before we get to your questions, I often note I'm going to circle back. I hate to disappoint conservative Twitter, but I am going to circle back on a number of things, as we often do directly.
Conservative Twitter, of course, she's talking about us. And Jen, I'm not disappointed. In fact, you're one of my favorite characters in this new administration.
I'll have to just circle back with you. We can circle back with him. I'm happy to circle back with you.
And because she's become a complete laughingstock and makes a bigger fool of herself every day, the White House has reportedly asked the press corps to submit their questions to her in advance of the White House press briefings, because it's all just political theater. I'm sure that most of the reporters actually feel bad for her, and they're not trying to stump her, they're just asking her normal questions. She's just that out of touch and that in over her head. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the reporters actually privately reach out to her and ask her which questions she wants them to ask. And they'll probably bring Jeff Gannon back into the press corps. Some of you have to remember the Jeff Gannon story. He was that fake reporter from a non-existent news agency who was mysteriously given White House press credentials and then lobbed softball questions to George W. Bush's White House press secretary. And when people started wondering, like, who is this guy and who does he work for? It opened up kind of a big can of worms. And let's just say that he probably had another job working at the Bohemian Grove during the summer.
It came out this week, the Freedom of Information request was granted, and you made 36 visits, apparently, to the White House at times when there were no press briefings going on. On 14 occasions, the Secret Service has no record of your entry and exit times. What were you doing in the White House?
I'm not going to get into it here, man, but I did write a whole book about the Bohemian Grove back in 2015 called Bohemian Grove Facts and Fiction, if you're interested, and if you could stomach it. Aside from finally and proudly circling back, Jen Psaki, Raggedy Ann, also said that the Biden administration wants to further, of course, restrict freedom of speech on social media.
As you know, President Trump has been barred from a lot of social media sites. Does President Biden support the continuing ban of President Trump on their sites?
I think that's a decision made by Twitter. We've certainly spoken to, and he's spoken to, the need for social media platforms to continue to take steps to reduce hate speech, but we don't have more for you on it than that.
That's right. The government should be telling us what we can and cannot say on social media, especially those newer social media sites that actually allow free expression.
Reducing a liar's reach is not the same as censoring freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is different than freedom of reach, and algorithmic reach is part of the problem.
The New York Times is calling for the formation of a new government commission, which would do just that, which they want to be headed up by someone they call the reality czar, who will tell us what's real and what's not, and thus what we're allowed to say and not say on social media. And some liberal academics at New York University have just published a study titled False Accusation: The Unfounded Claim That Social Media Companies Censor Conservatives, and they have declared once and for all that conservatives are not being censored or treated unfairly by the big tech companies. The report has decided that we aren't being censored, we just break the rules more, and denies that there is any selective enforcement of the rules, and responded to the long and growing list of conservative content that gets taken down and then causes outrage and then is restored by saying that big tech just keeps making mistakes. The report also cited the secret dinner that Ben Shapiro had with Mark Zuckerberg as proof that Facebook is not treating conservatives unfair because Mark Zuckerberg had one of the biggest ones over to his house for dinner. Or over to one of his houses, I guess, to be clear. Technically, Ben Shapiro's stance on transgender people is a violation of the terms of service on the major platforms, but unlike countless others who have said exactly the same thing and gotten posts taken down, suspended, and strikes, Ben will be just fine. He's protected. He's in the club. He's their token example that they allow free speech on the platform because Ben Shapiro is allowed to be here, but there's a lot of issues that Ben won't touch with a 10-foot pole, like, I don't know, the Bohemian Grove. You probably heard that Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, got banned from Twitter because he has a belief about the election that apparently you're not allowed to have in America anymore since we're not a free country. And that was his personal account, but now the MyPillow account, the official business account, was also permanently banned from Twitter. Can you imagine if the tables were turned and every Democrat who made claims that Trump stole the 2016 election got banned from social media for spreading misinformation? I mean, I guess it'd be kind of a nice place on one hand, but on the other hand, it'd be pretty boring, not to mention completely un-American. But we're under the rule of Silicon Valley now. Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, and Susan Wojcicki have usurped the Constitution. And have you noticed that the social media companies are the only businesses where you can't walk into a brick and mortar store and actually talk to a manager face to face about your problems? You can't even get a manager on the phone. You can't get anyone on the phone. They don't want to talk to you. They hate you. After all, why would they care about what the products have to say about the company? They care about the actual customers, the advertisers, the Democrat Party, and the liberal establishment. And just a heads up, and some of you may have already experienced this, but YouTube is now banning people even if they haven't uploaded any videos to their channel because of what they're saying in the comments. So be sure to follow me on Gab, MeWe, Rumble, and Telegram. YouTube just censored the full speech that President gave at the Save America rally. That's the rally on January 6th. From Ford Fisher's channel. He goes out and gets a lot of raw footage at events and then licenses that footage to other news agencies. He's a professional videographer. He uploaded the full speech. It was just censored by YouTube. And he pointed out numerous other news agencies, local news agencies, ABC, NBC affiliates that still have the speech, the full speech up on their channels. And that's fine. But if you're just an independent channel, an independent videographer, you're not allowed to actually show what President Trump said at that speech. Oh, and I almost forgot that bogus study by New York University that falsely claims conservatives aren't being censored and treated unfairly on social media claims that by saying that we are, that is spreading misinformation. And there's a big push by the Democrat Party to stop the spread of misinformation. So we may get to the point here fairly soon where just pointing out that we're being treated unfairly and being censored will get us censored even more. So I'm going to start doing some interviews with some people who have some solutions. So stay tuned for those. And if you support my channel and you support free speech, which I know you do, then I'm sure you'll enjoy my Free Speech Zone shirt, which of course is available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. And if that's not your style, then of course there's a classic Liberalism Find a Cure shirt, the I Love Global Warming shirt, or any of my awesome designs. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.